Welcome to the show after the show, The Vault Unlocked. My name is Dave. If you are not sure what the show after the show is, well, the show before this is episode number 14 of the Vault podcast. I am here with the esteemed, the very, very Australian Kathryn Macdowall. Australian was what I...
I'll take it.
You take it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I was going to say I ran out of adjectives to describe you.
Wow.
Actually, no, I couldn't. You'd never run out, but I just didn't. On the spur of the moment, I crumbled and I called you Australian. But it's true because you've grown up in Australia, and I want to start off by saying this is that you've grown up in the church, not only in church but in children's ministry.
Correct.
As in, if the dictionary definition of the word is a picture of you under it, I feel you've been doing puppets since you were 2 years old.
Maybe even younger.
Maybe even younger. So give us a recap, because that's a fascinating thing. I like that. I like those stories.
Tell me, long-term children's ministry involvement.
Yeah, how did you? Your parents were involved. What did you do?
Yeah, when I was born, actually, my family lived at a Christian campsite. And,
there you go.
And ran that. So where the Melbourne Hillsong Kids has just had their camp. That's the campsite that I was living at when I was born, and was there till I was about 2. So
there you go.
Then went back as a camper.
Right.
And then I went back as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Then my very first gig at speaking and ministry was there as well.
Right.
And as a teenager was where I felt my call from God to do children's ministry.
Amazing.
So yeah, this is this long-term gig.
Long-term campsite. That's pretty good. I
still there, it's still running.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Pull your mic down a little bit, Kathryn, so we want to make sure you can see your face right there. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we're looking around the mics at each other. You know. So, the Vault Unlocked is about a specific topic, and we want to bring people in who talk about a very specific area of ministry and expertise. And Kathryn is here because her role at Hillsong Church is the chief head, big honcho of curriculum writing. Kathryn has written about 1 million words that have been published by this church, at least.
Yeah.
A couple of million?
Yeah.
All of our curriculum print material, all of our preaching outline guides, our small group studies, all go through Kathryn. And that she is, in my consideration, my estimation, the greatest curriculum writer for children's ministry on the face of the planet, and that's why she can't ever go anywhere or leave.
Not planning to.
You're stuck.
Stuck here.
So today's session, can you describe it? I'm going to read it out, and you're going to describe it. How to prepare a message.
Yeah, we wanted to talk
self-explanatory,
today,
really,
about how to prepare a message. Like if you're maybe using Hillsong Kids curriculum, and this is, you've been given the leader's guide of the preaching outline. Mm-hmm. How do you get that to actually the message you deliver on the day in front of the kids?
Sunday on stage. Now, before we launch off, we might want to talk about the fact that our curriculum's kind of divided into 1 to 3 year olds, 4 to 7s, 8 to 12s, roughly 3 age groups that we kind of address. So, are you going to approach this from age group perspective, or how are you going to approach this?
Well, talking about all the different things that you would need to consider when you are preparing a message for one of those age groups, or you might find yourself preaching with some of those age groups together in the same room, or you might be doing a message to start off with the younger kids, but then there's been times where we preach and then race across the car park to another building and preach in another age group at that same
100%.
So just talking through kind of what you do to prepare before the day.
Amazing. So we will say that, and it may seem strange to some of you, preaching to 1 to 3 year olds. Well, it doesn't look like preaching. Preaching is a wide over umbrella word that we would use to describe communication to kids. And look, it's preaching because preaching is preaching, and it's a message, it's a talk, it's something.
And I think there's definitely, I would call that speaking to 1 to 3 year olds is preaching. You're delivering a message, you're depositing God's word in them. And my goals, I guess, for preaching with the different age groups is different. With 1 to 3 year olds, it's about getting them used to sitting down and hearing someone speaking up front. It's about getting them familiar with Bible stories. It's about having them learn to engage with at church, and learning about God is a fun experience. And all of that, I think God's word gets seeded into their hearts and in their minds. But my goal isn't necessarily, the preaching guide has got learning outcomes.
Right.
My learning outcomes for the 1 to 3 year olds is a bit different to what it might be for year 5 and 6.
Age appropriate.
Yeah.
Now, if I know you, there's going to be a lot of alliteration.
Not always. But today there is.
Oh, what a surprise! So take us through this. Let's go to let's go.
Well, we kind of, I was going over the points and I thought, you know what, let's make them all start with the same letter. So the letter for today, the Sesame Street letter for
Sesame
today,
Street of the day.
It's brought to you by the letter
T. Everything starts with T. Let's go.
How to prepare a message, points starting with T. So the first one is time.
Time.
And I don't want to point fingers here, but there are preachers that I know of within our own ministry and others who the time that they have to prepare might be the morning of. They'll wake up and they think, oh no, I'm preaching in this age group today. They get to church, they have a quick look at the guide.
Definitely, I've never heard of that happening.
They
really?
might race into a storeroom, see what kind of props
what
they
prop
can gather.
You can find. I've done the prop
Pull it
search.
together, and hey, they may pull it off. But what I'd like to propose is that preparing well ahead of time actually is going to set you up to win and means you can deliver your best.
Absolutely.
I think that we're given a great opportunity in the platform that we're given to speak. You know, on a Sunday at Hills, the preacher might be Brian Houston, and then in Hillsong Kids, David Wakerley.
Right, absolutely.
You know, you are on the platform that weekend.
Totally. There was only 2 preachers at church that weekend.
Exactly. It'll be whoever's in Hillsong Kids and whoever's on stage in church. So I would want to, honour that by doing my best. And for me, that is preparing ahead of time.
Absolutely.
So when you can prepare ahead of time, you can order props.
Yes.
You can
Make
get
it
other
great.
people involved. You can go through some of the stuff they're about to talk about now. But in that time preparing ahead, you want to think about, look through what's in the preaching guide or think about what the topic is that you're speaking about that weekend and really take time to read it through and understand where you're headed and what you're aiming for and go through the points that we're going to talk about now. But, not leaving it to the last minute is a great...
I will. Here's my thought on time. My approach, I guess, when you're writing, here's my thoughts about when you're preparing a message for kids or adults. When I'm preparing a message for kids, generally what I'm teaching is something that is deeply embedded in my own heart and mind. I don't have to read a book on theology before I teach something to a group of kids because it's not something I have to learn beforehand. So when you're speaking to adults, most of them aren't just going to walk off around the room and go play with some toys.
That's it.
So you have to work harder when you're speaking to kids to prepare some of the other elements, I feel like.
A youth pastor might show up with a Bible in one hand and a packet of Minties in the other hand.
Minties.
I'm very Aussie.
That's an Aussie.
Packet of candy in the other hand, and that's all they need. They're good for a message. And a preacher, if they want to pull something exciting out of the bag, might have a few props, and everyone gets excited. But when you're speaking to kids, you want to have
props or old hat.
Props.
Yeah.
Having visuals that's standard. But the later you leave it, the less quality that stuff's going to be. And I personally want to. One of the biggest things of time, which I'll talk about, props and stuff later on, but is having time to order stuff ahead of time. So I'm preaching this weekend.
Oh, what have you got?
And I might show it later when we talk about the props.
Oh, okay.
But I've, got told early enough that I'm on the
from
preaching
our sponsor,
roster.
costumebox.com.au.
So I can go ahead and order my prop and have it arrive in time.
Absolutely.
Where if I only looked at my message on the Saturday night, there's 24-hour Kmart. You can't...
Catherine, we haven't got
your
time to talk about this. Let's give us another T.
Passionate about this point. Okay, the next T. The next T is very important, is talk.
Talk.
And this is reminding us to talk to God.
Right.
Because it's his message that we want to deliver. And it's not my message. It's not just my good ideas. We want to actually pray, seek God, read the word, delve into the Bible ourselves, not just, reading what's written in the preaching guide, but looking up those verses ourselves. And really asking the Holy Spirit to be with us.
Yes.
And then the other idea with talk is think about who you are talking to. So think about who you're talking to. So your audience, how big the group of kids is going to be.
Right.
It changes the dynamics
It
in
does.
the room. The age group you're going to be speaking to, how many kids, that changes the dynamics in the room as well. Time of day you're speaking to them. Is it a morning service, a night service? That can really change. I know for me, I can change my approach drastically between how I'm going to speak to a group of kids in any given service.
True story.
Because of, the time,
Food.
the setting.
Are they hungry?
Food.
Are they tired?
Are they hungry?
Yep.
Are they tired? Have they been there all day? Is it their fifth service? Is it a conference and they've already been in the program all day long?
100%.
Yeah. So you want to think about
this is the stuff that's almost second nature. But as you're beginning this,
that's right.
You just want to, in your mind, you go, okay, how many kids are going to be there? What time of the day?
Yep.
And that can determine how you approach, even how much energy you bring to the room.
Yeah.
But also, if it is 11:30 service and they're going to go to lunch afterwards, I think that's a good time to give away some lollies as a prize at the end of your preaching, because you know it's going to work for you.
Totally. Yep. So you want to think about who you're talking to.
So who you're talking to, and you also need to talk to God. And that idea we've always talked about with us is like, sure, here's the curriculum guide of the preaching outline, but you don't need to do it all.
That's it. Yep.
What is the one thing you feel like God wants you to highlight to the kids?
Yeah.
Because again, our job is not to cover the whole Bible in one preaching message, but we want to unearth a revelation from God for that group of kids.
That's it. And
Give us another
That
T.
brings us to the next point, actually, talent.
Talent.
As you said, you don't have to use everything that's in the preaching guide. It's a guide. It's an outline. It gives you some direction, gives you some options, gives you a launch pad to work from. So you think about your talent. What are your strengths? Are you really good with puppets? Are you great with storytelling? Or maybe you're awesome at singing. You could, present a song. One of our team has, learned in college Greek and Hebrew, and they're able to share the meaning of words to the Year 5 kids. Like, blows their mind every time. Maybe you're good at painting. I've delivered a message where I've drawn the story as I've told it. Bring what you're good at to the table. Bring your talent to it, your personality, your flavour. I guess,
here's a question for you. Let's say you are a talent, and everybody is talented in some way. You may not be able to see it, and I like how you've said it's very much you want an individual to bring something. Don't want to copy anybody else in a sense.
That's it. Be yourself. Yeah.
And what would you say to someone who's sitting out there and they are a shy person? Because admittedly, I was a very shy kid.
I think it comes with time and practice.
Right.
But definitely, learning from others and watching others and learning sort of a bit of the tricks of the trade of, not asking open-ended questions and all that stuff. Go back and watch Dan's.
Never say shush again.
Never say shush again. Yeah. So it would definitely be your authentic self. And in some ways, I don't want this to sound like it's coming from the wrong angle, but it is a performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Preaching is an art form.
Yeah.
And it's a performance art form, and that's nothing to be, it's just me talking to no, you've got to embrace that.
That's right. If you're going to be talking about something that you were really scared of and you hated, you want to really hate it.
100%.
Or if you want to talk about how much you love donuts, it's not like, I love donuts. You've got to love donuts, you've got to take
lukewarm, you're either hot or cold.
That's it.
So that's really, really important. But embrace the performance side of it, and don't feel like you're being a false
That's right.
You're a heightened version of yourself. Exactly.
Right. Yep, totally.
Give us another T, Kathryn.
Next one is tailor. So you want to
Need
tailor
to wear a
your
suit?
message. So, tailor as in you want to tailor it to, what you're talking about. But think of it, tailor as in someone who's stitching together a suit.
Okay.
You are making an outline, making your blueprint, making your plan. How are you going to stitch it all together? You've got some ideas over here, some ideas over here, something from the preaching guide. You want to actually sit down and stitch it together. Get each part, make a plan, think about what order you're going to be speaking each section in. Maybe you want to have an intro before you launch into a story. Sometimes I love to start with a story to really capture their attention at the very, head of the message. And then, you want to actually make that plan, step it out. You sometimes play around with the order, see how it's going to flow. And be ready to even change that on the go. I've changed it between the 9 a.m. service and the 11:15.
When I walk, here's what I've noticed over the years is that when you walk into that room, everything kind of kicks in for me. So, for example, upstairs here, we've got our JLPs who are serving, Junior Leadership Program, so we'll have kids serving. There's often people doing sound and lights at the back, our kids, but oftentimes we'll get a little stage manager. And if there's a stage manager, I tailor my message accordingly because I want to get him involved or him or her, our little child involved in serving. So I'm going to use him for everything. I'm not even going to pick up a prop. Why would I pick up a prop when a kid can? So I will literally see the room. I will know who's here and immediately go, okay, that kid's going to do this, this, and this for me. I could do it, but number one, this kid needs a job. he's got a job that he's doing, stage managing. So let him do everything that you could do. And to be honest, kids love it when kids get involved. And I'll have fun with that. If they're too slow, I'll make fun of them. I might even fire them and then rehire them. You make it fun, but you also that changes big time. If the next service there is no stage manager, I'm going, okay, new plan, do this, this, and this.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, totally.
So give us another T.
Another T is tricks.
Tricks.
This T is reminding us, think about the kind of memory tricks you might be able to employ to make sure you're not a reading it off the paper preacher.
Right.
That has its place for people that are learning, but I think by preparing a little earlier, you can prepare yourself to be able to not just read it off the paper. So for myself, I write out my message, I write my notes. If it's maybe it's doing Zacchaeus a few weekends ago, and that's a story that I've told, that I learned how to tell as a child. And,
sure.
So any weekend Zacchaeus is on, I can do that whole message from memory. But even with that, the little tricks I use is to have my message written out point form. So I've got my 3 or 4 big points, and they're just words that trigger my memory as to what that section is about.
Right.
Or it might be the images that you use, the screen image that you use, or might be a flashcard that you're using, or a picture that you're drawing, or an object that you've got that triggers your memory to what that section is about. So that kind of helps with not trying to remember word for word, start to finish, but knowing where you're headed, and being able to get to that point where you're not just reading it off the paper.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so think about those tricks, little hidden prompts that you might have.
So I was thinking this would be tricks, magic tricks to do in front of kids, but you're saying memory tricks almost.
Memory tricks, yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Yep.
All right, what else we got?
Okay, so the next one is take it to the next level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so think about how you can, and this is something that over the years of us writing curriculum since 2008.
7, 8.
Yep, 2007, 2008. I'd write a message and you would say, that's silver.
Right.
Or that's gold, but how can we make it platinum?
How can we make it platinum?
How can we make it platinum? So throughout, I hope that comes across in some of our messages, that of how can we actually take it to the next level. So it might be adding in a fun game that introduces the topic. It might be going full deck out in costume. It might be getting someone involved to help you in your message that they're a character. It might be writing it as a puppet show. But how can I take it just from me on stage speaking to the kids and take it to the next level with better visuals? You might be telling a story about how you took your kids to the beach and a huge wave crashed. You could have a picture of the ocean behind you. You could have sound effects. You could have lighting. What sort of things can you bring to the message that actually take it to the next level?
That's really, really good. It's and I would imagine this, if you're thinking about your whole message, you don't go, okay, I've got 7 things I want to take to the next level. Maybe choose one of them. Because that could be the one thing that really sticks out in the kids' minds. It could be they could go, oh, you're the leader that does that for the next 10 years. They go, I remember you, that time that you threw water at me because we were talking about the wind and the rains, wind and the rains and the rain.
Even with your props, if you're doing fruit of the spirit, you could come on stage with a normal sized banana.
Yeah.
Or you could get a huge inflatable, the biggest banana you've ever seen.
Are we going to see your prop this?
This
oh,
is
here
my
we
props.
go.
This is for this weekend. So this is part of my taking it to the next level. It's actually going to be part of a puppet show. But, if we're hearing from God, you want to have, my little ears aren't going to come across on stage, but,
100%.
I've got a lot of mileage of jokes in the office.
Yeah,
with
totally.
this as well. I'm all ears if you want to tell me something.
Oh,
It's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
They've already paid for themselves in comedy gold before my messages even started.
Oh, dear. Okay. That's great.
You want to edit that part out?
No, I think it's good. I was going to make some more jokes, but I feel like you've already heard them all,
I have all heard them all, yeah.
Heard them all?
My ears are burning.
So, let's talk about the next T.
The next T is tell.
Tell. What are we telling?
And we want to tell a story.
Okay.
And this is something that a lot of, preachers that we see with adults, you might have seen Scott Samway, Sanger. He is an art form at telling a story.
Right.
And even if that story is a small part of your message, or if your whole message is telling a story, the thing that engages kids more than anything, and you feel it as an adult, is when you're actually hearing a story. So it might be that you're telling the Bible story, but really getting into the drama of it, really, not hamming it up, but, talking about, when I tell the Zacchaeus story, I make a big noise banging on the door of like, give me all your money, the widow's outside, and, Zacchaeus is taking more money than he should, and really getting into the story.
Gotcha. And that's not just Bible stories, but that's your own personal stories.
Personal stories, yeah. So kids, even when I'm preaching and I wasn't up to the part where I wanted to tell the story yet, if I can see that I'm losing them a little, I flick straight into a story.
Gotcha.
And gathers their attention. So
absolutely.
Telling them stories about yourself when you were little, you can show pictures, you can show photos, you can bring something that used to be yours when you were young. And
I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, we know the stories that our pastors say because we hear them all the time. So don't feel bad repeating yourself.
That's right.
Some of you guys watching feel really bad when you repeat yourself. Do not feel bad about it at all. Imagine if there's a child who grows up in your church who for the rest of their life knows you as the guy that thing happened to.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a win for me. So if you keep going on about that same story, especially if you got injured or it was painful, that's all the better for it.
And if you're telling a story that's from our preaching guide, and to be honest, some of the stories that are about, that are life story examples are about my life, because that's what I've got to draw from when I'm writing. And nothing makes me happier than seeing a preacher in our Hillsong Kids programs owning that story as if it was their own.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at the back thinking, did that happen to them as well? And I'm like, wait a second, that's from the preaching guide. 100%. That was my story. But if you're going to tell a story, own it 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Do we have any more T's?
We do.
Oh, what else we got?
We have got teach. So you want to teach the point. So focus on the big point and repeat it.
The big point for those who don't use our curriculum, that's what we call the one big idea we want kids to take home.
That's it. The thing that we want them to be able to, I guess, go home and say,
yes.
This is what they've learned.
What did you do at church today? I learnt.
That's it. So we want to repeat it over and over again throughout our message.
Yes.
Even say it word for word and have the kids repeat it back to us.
Yep. Get them to write it down in their
get them to write it down in their journals. But teach the point, and that every part of your message has to be pointing to that point. And particularly,
to the point.
Everything all coming to a head at that. If you come at your message, there's different aspects to it. You're talking about reading God's word. That's quite a wide breadth of what, topics you could cover. But our curriculum is generally structured that we talk about the same topic over 3 lessons. So we've sort of already thought of the 3 big ideas within that topic.
Yeah.
So you want to focus on what is the lesson for that weekend, and that everything you're saying, points kids to understanding that big point.
There is the couple of metaphors. A metaphor would be the spokes of a wheel. If you think about a big wheel and there's a bunch of spokes around it, like a bike wheel. All of those spokes are all the way that you're getting towards that hub, the central idea.
That's it.
Or the idea of I always like the idea of a hunk of marble and someone chiseling away to unveil what's inside.
Yeah.
I just like that idea of taking for me, and speaking to kids, especially teaching, is again, knowing your spiritual gift is important, because my spiritual gift is teaching. So I really want people to understand. I want kids to get it, right?
Yeah.
Preachers want people to do things, or to do something. I want kids to learn something. So I lean into that, and I really want, so if we're talking about faith, I want them to go away knowing, to me, a success is they can go, if someone said to them, what's faith? They can say, oh, faith is this. Wow. And that's an idea that they've heard, they've absorbed, and they have, I guess, a kind of in what is the word? Incited it? Yeah.
Internalized.
I knew it was started with them.
I mean, we're not just teaching for them to rote learn something. We're teaching for their life to be changed. We're teaching 100%. For them to build a foundation for their life. And now as an adult being involved in other areas of ministry in church, and we're in Connect Group with people who are new to church, have never been involved in a church before, and the kind of questions they're asking as adults is what we teach the kids,
exactly.
And I have to sometimes try not to use the phrase, so here's how we teach it to the children, telling people that. But when we can build, that we're teaching to build those foundations, and we're teaching for kids' lives to be changed and to be, set up.
Teach. What else we got?
Well, this is actually the last one after this is thank.
Oh, thanks.
Because we want to approach preparing our message and the opportunity that we have to speak with thankfulness, with an attitude of gratitude, that we're thankful for the opportunity that we have, because it's Even throughout Scripture, it's really highlighted that teaching children is a huge responsibility and a weight to bear. But that we, are thankful for that opportunity and doing the best with it, with what's in our hand and the opportunity that we have, even if it is to the smallest service, to the smallest kids. The fruit that can come from that we may never know, but I think it's huge.
Even thanking the kids for listening.
That's it. Thanking the kids for listeing.
Or thanking for the kids for staying in the room if they're not listening.
Thanking the team that come alongside and help us.
100%.
And I guess that when you see your name on the preaching roster, it's not I've got to do work to prepare.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And if it's something you feel called to doing, communicating the gospel, then you really want to do the best you possibly can.
That's it.
Because I feel like there's sometimes we approach this like for me, the big opportunity is never the biggest. It's just the opportunity every time it comes up.
Yeah.
And I want to be the best I possibly can at it because it's going to, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well. That's what my hope is anyway.
Yeah.
Those are all the T's. I'm going to thank you, Kathryn Macdowall, for helping us and talking about what was the overall topic?
How to prepare a message.
There was no T's in it. That's why I
Didn't
couldn't
start
remember.
with it.
No,
How
it didn't start
to
with the T.
prepare a message.
I want to say my final parting thoughts. You can say you want to do some final parting thoughts as well, as that this is a big responsibility for you to take on. And I want to talk a little bit about the actual physical act. I love, just an aside, I thought about this as you were saying one of the T's. I feel like if you're holding a microphone, it's fine, but if you can get a headset that's on your head, you have the ability to use your hands.
Yep, totally.
The freeing up your two hands to do something can take your next level. You can and raise you up to the next level. So if you think about when you see adults preach, a lot of time they're like handhelds. But for me, now we use wireless and corded headsets here. $100 maybe for a corded one.
Yeah.
But they get more expensive for wireless. But I'm just saying in your own church, that might really help you if you've never considered that before. And even just using a microphone in a small group is actually very powerful.
Yeah, that's right. Because being able to use your range of voice to capture attention.
And loud. Yes, you can go both. Because if you whisper and you don't have a microphone, it's gone. But if you whisper into a microphone, it changes the whole tone of it.
And if you think about from the kids' perspective, if you don't have props or don't have visuals, you're not moving around the stage and you're talking at the same volume the whole time, quickest way to lose attention.
I'd fall asleep if I was doing that myself.
Yeah, that's right.
That has
been it to be visually different, audibly
100%.
different. Yeah.
You know what? I've just thought of another T. I was going to say this, transitions.
Yep.
Because we often in our ministry transition from a big story on a video screen. And so everybody, if you've got a transition, do not take too much time on that sucker.
Yeah.
Like once somebody's on their big story, when somebody finishes speaking, there may be some music still. Yeah. I'm straight in after the last sentence while the video's still playing, and then it fades into me. But transitions is important for anything, and you want to make them as quick as possible. Do not muck around.
Do a whole session on being a good MC.
100%. That may be one we have to do in the future. All right, thank you, Kathryn Macdowall. You can find all of Kathryn's work on big.com, hillsongkidsbig.com. She and if you want to connect with her, you can just send an email to hillsongkids at hillsong.com or kids@hillsong.com. What are we doing?
Hillsongkids
or
at hillsong.com.
thevault at hillsong.com, which is our podcast.
Yep.
If you want to see Kathryn Macdowall talking more, then you've got to email us at thevault at hillsong.com. We'll get her on a podcast episode. It'll be great. Thank you, Kathryn Macdowall.
Thank you, David Wakerley.